Hey everybody, Steve Dawson here. Welcome back to the Hawaiian Guitar 5-minute lessons. I thought since, there's a few people that have hopped on here and said that they enjoyed it, I thought I'd take a couple minutes here at the beginning, before the 5-minute counter begins, and answer some questions, because some people had some questions. I don't feel like typing answers, but I'm happy to answer the questions. So let me just look through, and I'll do this every week. If you have some questions, I'm happy to answer them. So blah, 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 blah. Let's see what we can find here. Thanks for doing this. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Here's one from Bud Scott Jazz Guitar. It says, you may be the only person on YouTube presenting vintage Hawaiian steel guitar lessons. I can't speak for that, but you're probably right. He's wondering if I ever play in the higher A tunings used back in the day. I was also hoping you could recommend a decent capo that can be used on a hollow neck tricone. Okay, so so what he's referring to is the high bass A, which is basically what bluegrass dobro players play, which is GBDGBD, low to high, GBDGBD, but up a whole tone from that. So it's A, C sharp, E, A, C sharp, E. That is a very common tuning for Hawaiian, and when you hear people like Sol Hoopii and stuff, guys like that, a lot of them are playing in that high bass tuning. For me, I don't know. It's not my favorite tuning. There's a lot of reasons. I think I'll probably get into them gradually as I release some more of these. But I feel handcuffed in that tuning a little bit. I feel like there's triads everywhere, and I don't always want triads. I want some, especially when I'm improvising, I don't necessarily want triads everywhere. So I like that there's, in the tuning that I use, which is DGDGBD, there's a triad on top. That can be a major triad or a minor 7 triad, depending on how you play it. And on the bottom is kind of a bunch of low power chords. And that's what I like. I like that when I'm soloing. I guess it's probably from playing bottleneck. I came up playing blues and rock bottleneck guitar originally, and those tunings were everywhere, listening to people like Rat Cooter and even like Sunhouse and Skip James and people like that. A lot of them were using this open G tuning, so it's DGDGBD. I did hang out with Bob Brosman quite a bit, and that was the tuning that he used all the time as well, so that had an impact on me. So those are some of the reasons. Also, what I found is, for me, A tuning is just too tight. I like the looseness, the greasiness of a G tuning. So I stay in G, I stay in low bass, G. I realize that that's not what they did back in the day, and that's okay. Also, if I'm learning something and I really want it to sound exactly like what I'm hearing on the record, I'll stick a capo on. And that brings me to the second part of this question, which is, what kind of capo do you use? I don't know, I just use a few different ones. This is a shear horn one that I use, and that works well on my tricone. You have to get in the strings. I get in there with my pinky and lift them up really quickly and jam this thing in, and it's cool. I also use a slimmer one called the Flux Capo, and when I was playing with a guy named Kelly Joe Phelps, he hipped me to this trick of gluing with wood glue a popsicle stick on the bottom of the Flux Capo, and that makes it sit on the neck rather than hang on the neck, because hanging, no good, because then this thing is just going to bonk into the neck all day long. So the popsicle stick glued to the bottom, and I've had the same popsicle stick glued on since Kelly Joe Phelps glued it onto my capo. Let me see if I can find it here. Here it is. This is my Flux Capo. Oh yeah, in fact, it might be 2 popsicle sticks glued on by Kelly Joe Phelps probably 20 years ago and has not moved. And that is what sits on the neck. I use this on my Weizenborn all the time, and I use this fatter one on my tricone. Okay, end of that question. Do you have any Hawaiian CDs available for purchase? No, and the reason is that while I do play a lot of Hawaiian guitar, it's not all I do, and so all of my albums, and I do have quite a few albums, most of them, if not all, well, not all of them, but a lot of them do have some Hawaiian tunes on them, mostly traditional 20s, 30s stuff, perhaps 1 or 2 songs, but I do not have any albums that are strictly Hawaiian. Although my band, who I love playing with now, called the Volcano Brothers, we're about to make an album. So that will change in the near future. And then finally, what bar are you using? Sounds really warm. I'm using a Kleinsmith bar. And I agree, it does sound warm. I just got this about 6 months ago. Up until then, I was using like a totally cheap Stevens bar that was more of a Dobro bar. Why? I don't know, it's just the one that I had from the beginning, and I never really thought about it. But I bought one of these. This is not an ad for Kleinsmith, but in a way it is, because I'm telling you, it is a game changer for me. It's like somebody has taken a blanket off the instrument after 25 years of playing it. I can't believe, like, the weight is great. It took a little bit of adjusting and getting used to it, but I love it. These are made by Kleinsmith. You can order them from him directly, and he'll send them to you. It's kind of like the Jerry Bird specs, but it's a little bit longer, and I really like it. It's just his standard bar, strongly recommended, and the sustain and the tone is great. So that's all. Okay, so let's get into the musical portion of this week's show. 5 minutes tops here. So I'm going to show you a little thing with the right hand in the context of a tune that my band, the Volcano Brothers, plays every week when or every gig, I guess. When we start with this tune. It's called the Kohala March. There's a gazillion versions of it. But what I want to show you is this tremolo picking thing that's very specific to Hawaiian music. It would be a big no-no in bluegrass, but in Hawaiian music, it's cool. And what we're going to be doing is hitting a note with your thumb, oops, then the index finger, middle finger, back to the thumb. And it's eventually going to sound like this. It's almost like a trill. It's not meant to sound like 4 distinct notes. It's meant to sound like a pickup into that last note. It's very Hawaiian, and it does require finger picks of some sort. I use these ones with the fingertips cut out. But we're going to do 2 things here. We're going to do one of those where we do it on the 3rd, 2nd, 1st string. So that's sort of a little trill there. And we're going to do it once on just the top string. So here's the phrase. This is part of the Kohala March. The melody, I'm going to slow it down a bit, goes like this. There's 2 little right-hand things that if you get them down, you can use them all over the place in soloing, improvising, and in tunes. All right, so melody-wise, it's really simple. It's on the top string, starts on the 2nd fret, and moves down to the 1st fret, and goes back and forth. Simple. 2nd string, do the exact same thing. Getting in on the 2nd string, it's a little trickier because you have to be more precise. On the top string, you can be a little loosey-goosey about where your right hand is moving. In the 2nd string, you have to have that motor skill memorized of where to hit the string without hitting a bunch of other extra notes. Anyway, so we've got 2 1 2 1 2, 2 1 2 1 2, and then you're going to just move that up a fret and hit 3 2 3 2 3. So now you've got this. Let that note fall and hit the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So that's the whole first half of the phrase. Nothing tricky in your right hand yet. The chords under that are going C, A, D, and then to G. That's where we're at. So 3, 4. Let's do that one more time. The next part is where some of the tricky stuff kicks in, and it goes like this. That's kind of the whole phrase. So it requires a slide up to around the 4th fret of the 3rd string, but you don't quite get there before you just kind of launch it off without the dramatic left hand. Just take it off, and then play the open B string, the 2nd string. So you get that motion. Very Hawaiian. Play the G string, the 3rd string open. Top string, 7th fret. 3 times and slide down to the 5th fret. One more time. Cool. Now the first little right hand trill is going to come in here. Those are the notes we want to hear. 3, 2, O on the top string, and then the 1st fret of the 2nd string. There's your C note. But when you play that 3rd fret of the top string, I want you to give it, this is very Hawaiian again, you can kind of put the bar down over the 3rd fret and pluck, with your right hand pluck 3, 2, 1, thumb, index, middle. If you weren't doing anything with your left hand, it would just sound like this. But if you do it right, and you immediately after playing lift that bar, you get that trill. And that is all over the playing of the great Hawaiian players. It also helps to kind of grab the strings after you play them, but really lifting the bar with that motion is how you're going to get that. So that's, and as soon as you play that top note, then just finish the phrase. 2, O, and 1st fret of the 2nd string. And then we're going way up to the 10th fret. But when you hit that 10th fret note, I want you to go thumb, index, middle, thumb. And then cut it off. It's tricky. It's going to take you a while. You'll get it. Do it over and over again. That's what you want. So as you're sliding up, we're going thumb, index, middle, thumb. It'll bug your dog, it'll bug your mom, but it'll be worth it. So we've gone, so that's 10, 9, sits on 9 for a sec, 7, 5, 3, and then you repeat. 3, 4. A little faster. That's it. Have fun. It'll be so worth the effort. And I'll be back next week with another little tip for playing the Hawaiian steel guitar. Have fun. See you later.